Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the meeting for the St. Augustine Port, Waterway, and Beach District. Today is April 16th, 2019. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Benjamin.
Here.
Commissioner Rivers.
Oh, here.
Okay. Commissioner Way, he's absent. He is out of the country. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call for the Secretary Treasurer's report.
For the city police law enforcement overtime, of the 8,000 committed, we've spent $1,120. For the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department overtime, of the 20,000 committed, we've spent to date $34.77. We have not done anything with the maps yet. Derelict boats, we did spend $9,031 of the $14,000, which was actually just a balance of what we had from the budget. COs, we've spent the $25,000. Navigational aid repairs, we've spent, of the $10,000 that we committed, we've spent $74.89. The regatta of lights, we spent the $3,000. Nothing on the artificial reef yet. And in the State Board of Administration Fund A, we have $22,577. In our operating account, we have $397,770. Of that, I moved $100,000 to the money market so we can get some more interest. In the money market, we have $1,829,137, but add $100,000 to that coming from the operating. In the Summer Haven account, we have $100,000 left. That is the Summer Haven's funds, not the port's funds. From our taxes budgeted, we had budgeted $526,341. We've received $478,736. We have a balance of expected income of $47,605.
Okay. Any questions with regard to the Secretary Treasurer's report? Nope. Okay. Approval of the minutes, the regular meeting held on March 19th, 2019. Additions or corrections or anything? Oh, okay. All right.
Approval.
Second the motion for approval. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Engineering report.
I will start off with Salt Run. Markers number 3 and number 6 are down. I contacted Bacon Marine Construction last week, asked them for a proposal. They went out there to inspect those markers to see exactly what they had to do. Number 3 was broken, so that was a navigational hazard, so they pulled that aside and tied it off to a barge. So I have a proposal from them to replace number 3 and number 6. They looked at the signs that they think they can reuse the signs, so it's just installing the pilings, $10,500 to do both of those.
Okay. What do you think about, did you see the email from Josh with regard to maybe lighted or floatings, lighted markers or?
Yes, I did.
What do you think about that?
I talked to Ken Craig about that a little bit too, and we think that the first step is to contact the local Coast Guard rep and just talk to them about it, see what they recommend, see what, what issues we really have to think about, and what best kind of lighting to put on those. So I can reach out to them and do that, and then report back.
Well, we need to get them up anyway. They got to get up. It's be a hazard of navigation.
How soon do you think you could contact him?
At Coast Guard?
Yeah.
I can do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, they've been down, what, a week and a half? I guess we can wait another, what do you think, Board?
It's prime cruising season, just be aware of that.
That is true.
Could you get us an answer from the Coast Guard by the end of the week, maybe? And if we Then we could,
About what kind of lighting?
about what kind of lighting, and yeah, whether potentially floating aids would be, or, better than the pilings that just keep getting knocked down over and over again?
I will contact them tomorrow, and hopefully I'll get in touch with them. And if I'm able to talk to them about it, then I can report back by the end of the week.
So you're talking about replacing the pylon altogether with a floating lighted navigational aid, is that correct?
Possibly, yeah. I think that was one of the options that's on the table, because they just keep getting knocked over. Or if not, maybe at least putting lights on the pilings, is that right? Is that another option too? Replacing the pilings, but then having lights on them, because they keep getting knocked over at night, right? Boats just keep running into them at night.
That's
Is the
right,
issue.
so that is another option. I think you can put solar-powered lights on top of those.
Right.
Just spent $6,000 a month ago on one, and you're gonna spend probably another 6 or 7 on that one now, just that one.
Yeah, 10,500 for two of them, yeah.
If we could get the financial data on the floating, I assume they're like what floats in the inlet out there, although those are on just the big weights, it would be chained down, a floating navigational aid, like a mooring ball.
Yeah.
I think
We
that's
could
right.
get the data on that, that's bound to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
helix good, I guess.
Other inlets have lights just on a 30-foot tall pole.
Right.
So you have that in addition to the channel markers. So I mean, there's options out there, we have to explore it, and I think the Coast Guard will
I
be the
saw a
best.
floating solar marker, and the whole thing, I wish I'll try to find it, but it was a floating lighted ball that was completely solar operated. I was like, why didn't somebody, I'm sure somebody did think about it a while back, but it was a floating marker that stayed lit. And everything was internal because, those solar lights, I've watched them from my boat, boy, they pick those off the towers a lot. Boats tie up overnight and you're missing 2 of those in the morning. They're expensive. But anyways, I did say that somewhere, it'd be interesting.
Okay, I'll look into
Lighted
it.
ball, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna table the repairs for a couple of days. Can you do this? When you find out, call me, and let me know right then, and then I
Sure.
can make a decision. I can spend, I think, $6,000 automatically. I guess let me get permission from the board now while we're here, if it's another $5,000 to spend up to $11,000 to have them all replaced if we need to with lit.
I'd make a motion for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second. I agree with that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I got $11,000. $11,000. Okay. Okay. All right, anything else?
That's it for Salt Run. Summerhaven, construction is ongoing, and we're still targeting at the end of the month. I do have to talk about budget. Taylor Engineering has been operating in red. We ran out of money about a month ago. We have about $28,000 unallocated right now, and I'd like to request that 22 of that gets directed towards Taylor Engineering. We have anticipated that we needed about 15 to do all the monitoring out of MSA 233. We're still required by the permit to assist FWC. We've been running into some issues already this year, so it's already more expensive than what we thought it was going to be, just because some of that equipment, the electric fence is getting old and we're running into some problems. So I'm requesting that 22 be directed to Taylor. We've already spent a little over $7,000 of that. That leaves us $15,000 to finish what we have to do out of MSA 233 for the rest of the summer, and to wrap up the CA, the construction administration, for the rest of construction.
Okay, Elise, do we have the money for that?
As far as for Summerhaven? Yeah, well, there is,
You have the $100,000?
we have, where's my, there is 100,000 actually in Summerhaven right now.
Okay.
And Turnbull is, well, we don't have anything yet, and DEP,
We just gave Mr. Turnbull $190,000, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and he was supposed to be done at the end of last month, and when he came to the meeting here, he told us that any delay in his machinery, any reason that he was not able to work and complete that contract on time was not going to cost the board any more money.
That is correct. He's still operating under his contract.
Okay,
He has,
sir, he's already 30 days late completing that contract. It was supposed to be done at the end of last month.
Right, he's late on the schedule that he estimated. He's not asking for more money because of those delays. He's still operating under
Okay,
the
exactly
money that
what
we,
is the money for then? Exactly what is the $22,000 for?
that I'm requesting?
Right.
It's for Taylor Engineering to coordinate with FWC and the USDA out at the MSA 233 lease term mitigation site.
Well, step back. It was to coordinate with the FWC,
And USDA.
USDA.
USDA is in charge of the
Now, my
control.
question is, why is this additional coordination coming up right now? Was this not part of the budget all along? What is it that happened differently?
I've had this money set aside, unallocated. Well, with all the problems that we've had with this, I won't say problems, but unanticipated events with Matthew and Irma, I mean, we've been trying to work as
Excuse me, I'm
efficiently
just
as
sorry, let
possible.
me just make one thing sure. This work with Summer Haven started after Matthew and Irma, correct? This current project that we're paying for right now, is that correct?
Construction started right after Matthew, correct?
Okay. So Matthew and Irma had already done what they were going to do when we started this particular project. And I understand a lot of things have happened. My next question is, how can I get all of the financial oversight for this particular project? Because the port does not seem to be in possession of it. So how can I get hold of that information?
The port's not paying for any of that. The port's not costing the port any money. That's Summer Haven, that was money allocated from the state.
So what is the port doing voting on this then, if it's not any port money?
Well,
It's under the port's control.
Okay, then it's still under our regulation.
It's under your regular.
Okay, so if it's coming out of the $100,000 that's right here in this budget,
It's not tax money, it's not local tax money, it's.
but we're responsible for spending it, is that correct?
Right.
Well, then I think that it's pretty much works the same. If I've been voted on to watch out for this money, I need an explanation. So you're saying because there's $100,000 here left in the Summer Haven account, you need $22,000 of it, correct? And that's for the additional time that the engineers are going to have to spend with regulating agencies?
We've anticipated needing about $15,000 to do the work that's required out at that lease term mitigation site.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I don't hear what you're saying. The least term mitigation, what is that? Because we both are brand new to this board.
Yeah, the state, the DEP
Right, I understand they're
permit
birds,
and the
but,
FWC permit, as part of this project, we had to create that least term nesting habitat out of that old spoil island as part of the permit. And as a permittee, the district is responsible for complying with the specific conditions in that permit. And there's conditions that say we have to keep the electric fence, the Burke Hall broadcast system, the bait traps up and running for 3 years post-construction. So 2017 was the first year, last summer was the second year, 2019 is the third year. So this work that I'm asking to do under this $22,000 is required by the permit.
okay, because we didn't finish soon enough, we have to go back and mitigate for more time. Is that what it is?
No. This is work that we've anticipated having to do all along. We've been just hoping that, we could get it done without asking for this money.
Okay, I'm just trying to find out what we're going to actually spend the money on. Is it a meeting with Taylor Engineers and regulating agencies of the FWC and these other agencies? Is that what the money is for?
Okay, we've spent about $7,600 so far reinstalling the electric fence, and reinstalling the bait traps, the decoys, the Burke Hall broadcast system. We've done that over the past month.
So why did they need to be reinstalled? I mean, if we had to have them there 3 years.
Well, we have to take them down over the winter, or the equipment's just going to break down.
Okay.
So, if we didn't do that, we'd have to purchase new
Okay.
equipment. So we break it down in the fall, and then we reinstall it.
What was the first time that this project what was the first date the Matanzas project was supposed to be completed? Was it last fall?
If Irma did not come, it would have been done.
No, this started again. That's what we're trying to clarify. It started after Irma, and Matthew, did it not?
No, it started before Irma.
Before Irma.
Okay, that's not what we just said.
No, it is what I just said. It started right after Matthew, but before Irma.
Okay, I tried to clarify that, and I'm sorry, I said, so this project began after the hurricanes. That's not true. It began after Matthew, before Irma.
Correct.
Okay, that helps a lot.
So we were almost done when Irma came through. So if Irma did not hit the project, we would have been done probably by the end of September
Okay.
2017.
Okay. So what's it looking like now?
About 2 weeks left.
Okay. And we're going to have the full depth and everything so that they get their channel back.
In our project area, yes.
In our project, you're talking about not the county part that they just voted on last month, but in our project area, we expect in 2 weeks, Mr. Turnbull will have the full depth for the full length of our project area and it will be done.
Yes, it's going to be very close to that, as close as we possibly can with the present conditions out there.
Okay? That's all.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table for the $22,000. I would like to make a motion that we approve the $22,000 additional to Taylor Engineering.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay. One nay. Sandy. Okay.
And sir, I would very much like to get all of the financial oversight from Taylor Engineering for the entire project.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I'd especially like to know exactly what the $22,000 gets spent on.
Yeah, I can provide you an itemized breakdown of
Because
that.
our conversation still hasn't put a thumb on what we're actually buying with the money, other than that there needs to be mitigation. So I guess this is consultants' fees.
The work that Taylor Engineering will do with this $22,000 is making sure that all the permit conditions are met and that the regulatory agencies don't come after the district for non-compliance with the permits. So that's,
And we're doing that in the last 2 weeks of the project. That's just so surprising that all of these things, making sure permits and all of this wasn't done, and all of a sudden $22,000 for going and talking to folks. Well, as far as I'd really like to know what is undone.
the reason why I'm asking for it now is because I've been trying to stretch Taylor Engineering's budget as far as I can. And the end of last year and early this year, we had some out-of-scope work we had to do, some unanticipated work that involved the least term nesting habitat at the beach that we had to construct. Our original permit required us to construct 3.0 acres seaward of the dune, but we just, because of the impacts of the storm, we haven't been able to keep that sand there. So we worked with FWC to build that habitat on the west side of the dune. And that required a lot of coordination with FWC. We had to prepare new permit drawings, a new project design, prepare a permit modification request. So that was a lot of work that Taylor had to do that we didn't have in our original scope of work. So that's just, one of
So now you guys have completed the work and you're going to use this money to pay yourself for it, the hours, the labor hours?
To be clear, the permit conditions require the lease turn monitoring to go all summer, is that right? Or is it going to end in 2 weeks? Like the day that Turnbull leaves, is lease turn monitoring over, or the permit requires monitoring and mitigation to go beyond that time period?
The permit still requires monitoring out at MSA 233.
Until when?
I think it's through the end of August, through the end of,
Okay.
or at least until the nesting birds fly away, which is normally sometime in August.
Okay, well, so there's your answer. It's not that it's the last 2 weeks of the project and they're...
No, I'm talking about the last 2 weeks of the dredging.
Right, but
Specifically is what I'm talking
But this
about.
is just for mitigation stuff, which is going to have
Right,
to
I
go through the
understand.
whole...
I just
through the
need to
whole
know
summer.
exactly what the taxpayers are paying for with $22,000 when everything's done other than leaving and monitoring a bird calling thing. I'm not saying we don't have to do it. I'm just saying, boy, it's a lot of money when somebody can't come up with, it's for this. So if it's for mitigating, it's for labor hours for engineers to mitigate, to talk to the FWC and other regulating agencies at the last 2 weeks of the projects, other than what you guys are referring to in August. It's just a lot of money. And it sounds to me like Taylor Engineering is just collecting the money. But we've already taken the vote, so that's all I'll have to say. Thank you very much.
I would like to say at this point that, we hire these people. We've worked with Taylor for many years. We find them to be a very reputable and trustworthy company, and I believe that we ought just to put our faith in them, and doing what you're doing, Commissioner Flowers, is okay. You have the right to do that and ask to see a printout of whatever the money is going for. But I just want to let them know that we hired them, we respect them, and trust them.
Mr. Rivers, you hired them back in the 90s. Their contract has never been reviewed a single time as is required by law. Let me finish since you brought this up. Taylor Engineering misengineered our mooring ball system. We've got 40 mooring balls that from day one is sitting in 3 feet of water, unusable. We could use those south of the 312 bridge. Taylor Engineering was involved in the seawall south of the city marina. That had to be redone too, not on time, not on budget. Neither was the mooring ball system. The mooring balls themselves were engineered incorrectly, so when the Matthew did come through, the boats went underwater too, with the balls, because they were not engineered correctly. Do you want me to keep going on to give you more examples? I don't think it's ever a good idea for someone to hire, the public to hire a firm. It's not 2019. When were they originally hired? 1993 or 98?
1991.
It's been 1991. Nobody's ever reviewed the contract. We just flow out money. The port keeps no financial records. They're all kept, according to the secretary, with the city when we give them money, with the county when we give them money, and with Taylor Engineering. We have nothing to show for it. We wrote a check for $138 to the city, and we have not one shred of evidence of what they did with it. Just gone. Not even a grant application, Mr. Rivers and Chairman, not even a redo of the grant application, and we just say goodbye to it. So that's why I'm asking these questions. Nobody else has, and you really, I think, need to start, just like the law says, each year we're supposed to review our secretary, our attorney, and our engineer, and make sure they're serving the people correctly. If things aren't being done on time and over budget, you might want to look somewhere else. If it took me 5 months to get business cards after asking twice, maybe we're not being served too well. Right now, I really allow you guys and Mr. Way, I don't know what you did to serve without your bond. So if you're going to bring out what we should do, Mr. Rivers, it opens a whole hill of beans. No, money is just bleeding out of this place, and we do not have a single receipt or itemized financial record to show what happened to it.
I will say, Sandy, that, that's your opinion, okay?
No, sir, I've asked for the records. And our secretary said, I'm sorry, I can't give you anything. We have nothing to show you for that last $138,000 the city got. Nothing. Call up the city was the answer.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But
Can I explain then? If you don't know what, that we sent $138,000.
actually, you can't.
Okay, you're going to stop me from speaking at a public meeting?
For just a minute, okay? Because
Okay.
it's off subject, okay? But I just will say one thing, that when we review the secretary, when we review the
When did that happen after our election? It hasn't happened.
attorney, and when we review Taylor Engineering, we do go over their contracts, and we talk to them about what they're going to do for it and how much the bills are.
Sir, when did that happen after the election? And when you say I,
It's not, I didn't say I said we.
you just said you're going to review.
I didn't say I'm.
Let's bring it up since we're talking about that.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to stop you right now because we're
Okay.
off subject.
We'll wait to comments.
Okay, we'll wait for comments. Okay, engineering,
That's it for the engineering report.
okay. We're going to skip down to, go to new business first for Mr. Kramer here, and he has, the property appraiser's information to go over with us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk about a homestead exemption audit that our office is going to undertake. I appreciate your time today. As you know, our office is tasked with creating a tax roll for the taxing authorities in the county, primary responsibility under the Constitution. Most people view that tax roll as the assessment of property. Well, frankly, the biggest part of the tax roll or assessing process we go through is the maintenance of exemptions. And in St. Johns County, homestead exemption is what I'm going to talk about today. We maintain about 72,000 individual homestead exemptions. To put that in perspective for you, the just value of the county tax roll today is $37.6 billion. The assessed value, what individuals actually pay taxes on, is $28.1 billion. That $9.5 billion difference is attributable to exemptions, Save Our Homes caps, non-homestead caps, etc. So homestead exemptions every year, in addition to maintaining the 72,000 that we maintain, we take about 8,500 new homestead exemption apps every year. About 58 to 60% of those are taken online where we never see the property owner. We verify the information that they provide to us. Homestead exemption, when granted, becomes dated the next day, because many things can happen that disqualify the property owner from receiving that homestead exemption in the state of Florida. If those events happen in St. Johns County or in the state of Florida, we have a pretty good method of determining that and ultimately removing the homestead exemption and putting the assessed value back on the roll and collecting the back taxes. Through the David system, through Accurate, through Vital Statistics, through communications with other counties, we can usually capture that. Where we run into more difficulty is where something happens that would challenge the exemption status in another state in the United States, which we do not have access to information, states, counties, et cetera, to find the information that might cause that exemption to be invalid. So what my office is going to do is undertake a homestead exemption audit. And the reason I'm talking to you today is to make the homestead exemption audit totally effective and to be able to proceed with it. I need the concurrence of each of the taxing authorities in the county, you being one of the taxing authorities. To explain a little bit the way that will work, we will retain a third party to audit the 72,000 homestead exemptions. That third party, we are talking with 3 different entities now who do that service and do that in the state of Florida. We will select one of those entities based on the service they can provide, the cost that they will do it under to undertake the audit. So you may ask why you don't do this with your existing staff. 72,000 exemptions, if it takes us about an hour to do out-of-state audits on each one of those, that's 72,000 man-hours. You can do that math pretty quick. Our staff is not large enough to undertake that. The reason I'm talking to you is as this company comes in using publicly available information that we provide on the exemptions, when they identify those exemptions that may not be properly claimed, and our office continues the investigation on that and determines in fact that they do not qualify for a homestead exemption in Florida, we would then remove that exemption, penalize or apply penalties and interest as required by statute, and lien the property for the back taxes. At the point the back taxes are paid and the lien is satisfied, this company would then be compensated a percentage of what was collected. We are looking at now a range anywhere from 15% to 30%. That will ultimately be negotiated to somewhere in between that. So, in order to proceed with this, because the compensation of this company is out of collection of liens, the taxing authorities have to concur with that. So what I'm asking you for today, I can proceed with the audit. I have the authority to perform the audit as long as they operate under my supervision and control, which they will, is I'm asking for your concurrence to join in a memorandum of understanding that when these liens, penalties, and back taxes are collected, that a percentage of that would go to compensate the auditing company that does this. There is no upfront cost, so if they come into our county and they find no improperly claimed exemption, which I would doubt that would be the case, there's no expenditure. Based on what they find when that's actually paid, then they are rewarded or compensated a percentage of that back taxes and commission. So for example, if I determine that there is an improper homestead exemption and that exemption when removed results in $5,000 of taxes owed, okay, I'm required by statute to lien the property for $5,000 plus a 50% penalty, which would be $2,500, plus 15% interest for the number of the years it was improperly claimed. So let's say it was just 1 year, so I will file a $7,500 lien. When the taxpayer paid that lien, okay, the company would be compensated 30% if that was the agreement, 30% of the lien. So the taxing authorities would basically collect 100% of the back taxes, and then a partial amount of penalties and liens is going to compensate the company. So again, to proceed forward, I will proceed forward under my authority to engage the audit company, and what I'm asking the taxing authorities for is engagement into the MOU to agree to compensate the company a percentage of recovery. Stop here and entertain questions.
So 30% will be the fee for the company doing the actual work of all what they collect?
Yes, of what is collected. Now, and the reason I say 30% now, this is becoming a big issue in Florida because homestead exemption is a very serious, is a very important tax benefit, and the migration into Florida now They don't have to tell you, we're back up to over 1,000 people a day. Many people come because they want to live in Florida. Many people are coming today to avoid very high income taxes in the Northeast, so we find more and more instances where there may be, we find many instances the taxpayer just don't understand, but we're finding more and more where they do understand and there's an intentional attempt to do that. So yes, they're compensated in a percentage. Now, the reason I started with 30%, when we initially started talking about that with these companies, 30% was the number. But as this is becoming more and more competitive, we now have 12 counties, I believe, in Florida who have signed on to this. Obviously, the prices are getting more effective, which is to our benefit, and that's why I say we have a range now of between 15% and 30%. 30% is the most qualified, experienced company out there today. 15% is the newcomer in there. I think we're going to be somewhere in between.
Well, one other question, if you don't mind. The company that does the work, they access publicly available knowledge you were talking about, but from that, how do they because homestead is how many months of the year you live in your house, basically. Don't you have to be there a certain 7 months minimum or something? What is the...
In the state of Florida, to qualify for homestead exemption, you must make the property your primary residence on January 1st of the tax year, period of end of sentence, and you must not claim homestead exemption, receive homestead exemption in any other county in Florida or any other state in the United States. If you meet that qualification,
So they're checking public records throughout that's how they're determining. But when you say describe primary residence, define primary residence.
Florida, you own the property, your Florida driver's license of you and any co-owner is registered to that address.
Okay, so
That is your primary residence, and your voter registration is in...
everything is in
County.
Florida, so that becomes, so whether you're there only 6 months out the year, doesn't matter.
Florida only cares that you, January 1st, that you're in there. Now, there's other limitations on how much you can rent it, how often you can rent it if you go that route, but this is not a program that seeks out rental. This is a program that seeks out exemption status in other states.
In other states.
Or residency status in other states. Avenues that we don't have through David Accurate or Vital Statistics, for instance. They take publicly available information for us, which is name, address, parcel ID. They use that information nationally through LexisNexis databases to determine professional registration, professional licensure. If you are a licensed engineer in Illinois, they're going to research that further. If you are owning property in other states, that is researched. If you get a traffic violation in another state, that is researched to make sure that Florida really is your residence. So that's the type of things we're looking for. Now, very preliminarily, one of the new companies to the game is also doing rental verification, which is very, very important now. So it could ultimately be part of this project where rental, if you are renting your property, we will be able to match that up and research further for an exemption. They also, and I left out, they research marriage in other states, which affects exemption, death in other states, which affects exemption, those sort of things. Divorce, which would affect the exemption status in Florida.
Do you all have a ballpark of how many of those 72,000 you think might actually be inaccurate?
The counties that are doing this now, and in the last page of the presentation, I've given references next to the last page on 5 of the counties that are doing it now and what their success rates have been. What we have seen in the counties that are doing this is between a 1 and 5% identification of improperly claimed homestead exemption. So in our county, that would be between 700 and 3,500 cases. And I would expect that we would be somewhere in that range towards the low end, because I can tell you, and I'm a rookie, I've only been in 2.5 years, but prior to my being the property appraiser, the office did a really good job of identifying qualifications up front. In fact, to some extent, they might have been overzealous, but that's fine. Our office does a very good job today of identifying qualification up front, but again, it's dated the day we grant it if you do something in another state. And so many times people living in multiple states, a death will occur, a divorce will occur in Atlanta or San Jose, which we don't get vital statistics on, which affects the homestead status.
And this percentage comes off only on the people defined who do not have homestead exemption, and therefore their penalty. So it doesn't affect our tax income at all.
Well,
Except it may affect it advantageously.
if anything, it will increase the
Right,
revenue to
right.
the taxing authorities. It will do two things.
Right.
It will instantly increase revenue when paid because of back taxes and penalties
Right.
owed. But the other thing it does is put value back on the books. So if you have improperly claimed homestead for 5 years, your portability cap probably has reached some dollar amount, 50,000, 100,000, in some cases even more. That portability cap goes back in as taxable or tax assessed value. So it increases the roll amount in there. The way the system works, when they identify 700 or 1,000 of these, our office then researches that further to make sure if we know a circumstance they couldn't find. When we have decided this really is an improperly claimed homestead, we send the taxpayer a notice of lien that gives them 30 days to respond to us, telling us we made a mistake, and they demonstrate to that, and all is good. After 30 days, then we place the lien on the property. So there is a very logical process, and a process that's favorable to the property owner to respond if we've made a mistake in placing the lien. But no, the only thing it would affect is revenues that might be collected.
It's a huge windfall for the county, but being a flat tax, probably about the same for us, but that's a great windfall for the
And
county.
it could be. I mean, I hope they go through all of these and they don't find a lot. It will confirm for me what I think the office has done is a good job, but it also, as a new property appraiser, it'll make me feel good that these 70,000 exemptions, some 60,000 of them that predate me, that we have gone through, we have audited our rolls, we do feel good about what we have. Because again, if you live in Connecticut or New York or some of those states, you're paying between a 7 and 13% income tax. And their states basically say if you're out of the state 6 months and a day, you don't pay state income tax. Well, you come to Florida, you buy a home, you homestead it, and that's what you use to prove that you're out of Connecticut or New York or wherever. And I'm not picking on those fine people there, but they still maintain properties in those states, and that's what we're looking for.
What action do you want from us?
The action I would want from you is a motion and a vote that you would be willing to proceed forward with that. Once we have reached a final agreement, our next step will be, and we expect to be finished with this process by middle May, then I would submit back to you, and I put a sample in here for you and your attorney, a memorandum of understanding that you will enter into. It's a one-page, it's simple, it can be adapted to your needs if necessary. This is actually a red line version that we've adapted to our needs. And I would be sending back to you under cover letter that says we've selected this particular company, their fees are this, and when you enter into that MOU along with the other taxing authorities, then we'll present that to the tax collector, and we will start the process from start to finish. Once we select the company, we suspect it will be done in about 90 days.
We'll have a second chance to vote, essentially, once the contract has been finalized.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my purpose in doing this with all of the taxing authorities, if a taxing authority is just fundamentally opposed to it, then I'm pretty much dead in my tracks, because if you don't participate, then
Right.
I can't go forward. Once it's
The motion
presented
that we
back,
move forward on that.
I'll second that.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome, thank you. Right. Okay. Now we're going to go to old business. All right, let's talk about the pilings that were knocked down. Yes, we did that. Let's see. Okay, Sandy, do you have anything?
Yes. First, I'd like to talk about the barge dredger that I've been looking into and researching. And I have a boat in Clearwater, and I'd actually also found a guy named the Barge Guy that was very close to my boat, so I went ahead and went over there and made a trip and stopped by to see him. Most incredible shop. Fort Lauderdale's already got 4 barges ordered from him. He's filling in a huge market that there is for things 40 foot or even less that can do a lot of work. Right now, this guy, man, I tried to talk him into buying Nicodex and Nighty's Boatyard and bringing his operation over here. It's so impressive. He's putting all the numbers for me together now, but I want to tell you all what I asked for so you know what to expect when it does come back. I watched him building these. He was doing a 40-foot one there right now. They do all kinds of hydraulics, a lot of government work, or contracts anyway. Even if we ordered it yesterday, he wouldn't be able to get it out to the end of the year, but he's looking at compartmentalizing pile driver, a hopper that would be in the middle, and it has things over the top, so it's also working surface, and something you could also drag in. If you needed to, you could drive an excavator on it, because in Sebastian, the sand is not nice enough to do anything with it, I don't think. You got to go up there and dig. And it can also accommodate a cutter head dredger. Mike, can you tell me how big is the pipe they're using on that cutter head dredger down there at Matanzas?
That one's an 8-inch pipe.
8-inch? Okay, he's looking at a 12-inch. And when he was asking me, I know there's a long tube that goes through that goes up on the beach, and they're putting the sand up over there. A nice long tube. Of course, it's always about money. I don't have figures yet. I can tell you that insuring something like this is not nearly as bad as I thought, around $3,000 a year on the equipment. This is all brand new. It will be breaking apart. The options are literally almost endless. He is coming to St. Augustine and would probably be able to make an actual presentation to the board with some additional pictures, but I'd like to tell you all, he has so much already on Facebook under the barge guy that you go in there and look, and he is cutting edge, young guy, probably late 30s, wish we had him here, and he's really kicking it out and doing some good work. But the machines he's producing would literally do everything that we need, with the exception of a big hopper dredge in the inlet itself. And boy, I'd like to find one of those, but there's another market for a young guy. Hopper dredge is 100 foot. They just don't make them. They're all huge. But if you don't mind, he would come and do a presentation for what he could present to us that we could lease out when these pylons go over like this. I mean, you said we lost our budget in what was it, $6,500 for the first one? And now it's $10,000. And I got to tell you, I have a little concern about this. If the folks fixing those pylons are local folks, why won't the pylons keep piling over if we're going to pay $10,000 every time we got to go fix them? I know it's cruising season. I'm sure they've been hit. But it would be nice if we had our own thing. You go out there and do it and fix it. So I've been working on that. It's just a lot of material, and I believe it would be next meeting that he'd be able to come and do a presentation on it with pictures. Let's see, Chairman Benjamin, I was reading on your bio on the website, the port website, that you are our Port Authority liaison to find, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, when did that happen?
About 2005.
Okay, well, we have to vote on that again when a new board comes, we have to do a new vote
That
on
wasn't
that.
actually a vote, that was just who wanted to do it.
Okay,
And
well, see,
I'm more than willing to, let somebody else do it if they want to do it.
well, I'm just saying that whoever is performing that job needs to understand that they can't pick up the phone and call Mr. Blow or discuss port business on the phone with them. And Mr. Blow can't call that person or anybody up here and discuss port business on the phone with them.
If they're an appointed liaison.
Sir, if you're an appointed liaison, you are working as an advisory board member to this port board, to this commission.
It has to be a-
So sunshine law applies to you.
Right.
Okay, that means Mr. Piggott cannot have telephone calls.
It's not an appointed
Mr.
liaison
Piggott is
of the city.
cloaked in delegated authority. He is a member of our advisory board, sir.
No cloaking.
Sir, he is on our website listed as a member of our board.
No, he's not. He's listed as the director of facilities for the city.
He functions as an advisory member to this board. If you don't agree, sir, that's fine, we'll move on.
No, I'm just telling you, you don't need to give misinformation to them about.
Okay, then let's go over again. Advisory members, it's on page 1 of the book that you gave me.
Right.
Advisory board members, there's a test.
Advisory board member.
Yes, sir, he comes to this board. Well, he picked up the phone and advised our chairman, Mr.
They
Dixon.
never appointed him anything. The city commission hasn't, neither has this board.
He just comes in here and talks for the city without any appointment.
That's right.
he comes in here and advises this city, he's an advisory board member. We don't agree, let's let the ethics board decide, okay? I disagree, he's cloaked and delegated authority. Anyone who talks to this board, who has a decision in how the money is spent, and who has delegated authority from the city or the county or anywhere, is subject to the sunshine laws.
Are you finished?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I say something?
Yes.
Okay. So the rule is that if you are a delegated liaison to another agency, that the sunshine law applies to that. If you're just an employee, he's an employee.
He's employed the city.
Yeah, for the city.
That's right. You're incorrect, sir. We'll just let the ethics board deal with it. I totally disagree with you as a commissioner. I can read.
Okay.
Okay, I know what he comes, I know what they do. We have advisory member from the city of St. Augustine Beach who is the city manager, again, delegated, cloaked and delegated authority.
He's just the city manager. He's not.
He's also an advisory board to this commission. He comes in here, he advises you, he asks for money and he receives it. He is subject to the sunshine laws.
Will the general public come in here and ask for money and receive it?
If they have delegated authority
No, they don't
from the...
have delegated authority.
No, they don't. We're not talking about members of the public, sir. I'm trying to give you the test for sunshine laws. And the test is, does that person in front of you have delegated authority? Mr. Piggott does? Well, I'm advising you as a commissioner that I believe they do. And according to the book you gave me that I read, they in fact do. They have delegated authority at their post with the city of St. Augustine Beach, and with the county.
This board.
Sir, they come and get the money of this board. If you disagree, we will let the Ethics Commission decide, so we can move on now. Okay? But I'm informing everybody here. This is my time to comment, Mr. Rivers. So why did you reach for the gavel? No, I'm serious. Why did you reach for the gavel?
Because I think we need to
So
have
for the
order.
second time...
I think we need to have order in here. Since I've been on this board, Commissioner Flowers, it's been like 12 years. We have never had an advisory board.
Sir, that's what's functioning. You may not call it that, but by law, that's what's happening. I know you don't call it that. You just call up and you do all your business on the phone.
He's representing the city of St. Augustine. He's not representing us.
You misunderstand, you don't understand the law, is all I can tell you. Again, let's let the ethics board decide this.
Backwards.
And by the way, sir, the last election was very obvious that the people of this district are tired of the way you do business. He replaced the commissioner with 65% of the vote. I don't believe that's ever happened. I think the voters said exactly what they're sick and tired of. Or else we'd still be sitting here with the same commissioners. I also would like to say that when the city representative, Mr. McCullum, was here, that our chairman told the city, and I'm letting you know, Mr. Piggott, our decision on that grant, for the federal government grant, to do the study has not been decided. It is certainly within our budget to contribute if we chose to do so. And just because our chairman told the city representative it was not going to happen was incorrect, illegal to do such a
I'm going to
thing.
stop you right there. Okay? First of all, I didn't say it wasn't going to happen. I said I don't think we can afford it.
It's on record, so we'll be able to
Stop.
see.
I'm the chairman. I'm telling you, stop. You are so full of inconsistencies and misrepresentations. You need to stop what you're saying at this point.
No, sir, I will not stop
Yes,
what
you
I'm
are.
saying.
You were stopping.
You spoke for this board when you should not. Are you going to arrest me?
No.
You spoke for this board when you had no business doing
I
it.
didn't speak for the board, and you're so far out of the...
Well, then I'm just making sure that Mr. Piggott is aware that he is not speaking for the board. The only thing that speaks for the board is the vote.
Exactly.
Thank you. Just a minute, please.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I'm checking.
Okay.
That's all for today.
Great, appreciate that. Okay. Government representative comments. Anybody from the government? I got one more thing before you talk. You're very disruptive to the board. I just want to make that known. And
I was hired to disrupt this board,
Okay,
sir,
but
to
you are-
stop what you were doing
But you
here.
need to find your facts out before you start spouting off.
Can you disprove my facts, sir?
Many times, but I'm not in...
This is recorded, so if you think I've said something incorrect, please pull up the recording.
You have.
No, a little more than your opinion.
That's
Let's
all
pull
I
up the
said. That was
recording.
just a statement.
Let me make a suggestion. I think this will help us. is if you bring these things up, and we appreciate that you bring these things up, but would you do this so that we can think about them before the meeting?
How do I do that when I can't speak to you outside the board?
No, I'm trying to make it a little bit orderly here. If you would, like the items that you had written, you obviously had them ahead of the meeting. If you could say a couple of, maybe a week before the meeting, type them down, send them to Elise, and then she will send them to us, so that we can review what you're proposing before we come to the meeting, because all of a sudden, here we get bombarded with these things, and I haven't had a chance to look and see if that's...
So when, for example, when our chairman position was usurped and taken over without a vote, I was supposed to go, rather than saying something and us voting, I was supposed to send that to you so you can have it on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so in other words, he would have served for a second month, because I kept waiting for him to do another vote, but it never
So
happened.
we can know what's...
I will do the best I can. I
Okay.
sure will. If there was any way we could have a meeting to hash it out, but I can tell you, you guys are in egregious violation of the sunshine laws right now. And the financial oversight, Mr. Piggott is in possession of our records. He's neither an employee nor an official, and you have to be one or the other to be in possession of our records. And you're legally accountable for that, Mr. Chairman. We have someone, just like you just said, doesn't even work for this board, who is complete in possession of our records. If I call the secretary and ask her, she sends me to the city to find Jim Piggott.
No, to open the office door, that's what I said.
Well, if he's got to open the office door, he's in possession of it, isn't he? Can you open the office door?
Not in possession of it.
Can either one of you open the office door? You can go to the city and let me in to see the records.
Yes, I can.
Okay, why did you send me then over to Jim Piggott?
Because I'm working at my office and he's...
I know, but that's why we're supposed to have a secretary. There's so much work that could be done, and how much are you making? $17,000 to be our secretary. But when I ask for anything, I can never get it done. I mean, I'm just looking at what we pay.
All the records are right there. You can go anytime you
Right.
want.
I want to know why they are behind the lock and key of someone who is not official. You cannot have him have access to...
Rent that office, Ms.
He can, that's fine, but those records have to be behind your lock and key, not anybody's lock and key that is not...
It's in the Wagner Museum. They have to be able to open all those doors.
Then I suggest you leave our records. If you cannot get into it at any normal business hours, if Mr. Piggott or someone that's not associated with this board has to
Chairman, I
be
move
present...
the agenda.
Excuse me, I was making a comment.
Move the agenda.
Well, let her finish.
Let's get back on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Well,
Our records are being improperly stored. Please look into it.
okay.
Move the agenda. Back to
All right,
the
now-
gentleman from the sheriff's office.
Where'd the sheriff's office go? There you are.
Good afternoon, Board. Keith Oaks, St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, with this month's Marine stats. Sergeant Underwood is out teaching this week, so he is teaching young deputies how to run boats. Imagine that. This will be from March 19th through April 16th. The unit had 152 hours on the water, had 53 calls for service. They conducted 12 vessel safety inspections, did 12 wake zone patrols, assisted other agencies 6 times. They had 5 safety-related marine warnings, 4 citations, which consisted of registration, safety gear, no lights. Again, still focusing on safety and proper boating. Looks like we had 4 marine swimmer boater distress calls. Season's starting to kick in. I'm sure that number is going to unfortunately increase as we move through the busy season. We moved 1 tree out of the ICW and navigation lane, and we made one arrest during some of those checks for possession of marijuana. I believe that was down around our Doug Crane area. And we had 4 minor boating accidents and 14 sanitation device inspections with 1 violation. So those are getting better if we've kept up with those sanitation numbers.
Was that mostly down at south of 312?
That's typically our busiest area. I didn't issue them, and I wasn't on duty the day that they were dealt with, so I don't want to.
Do y'all check the mooring
But
balls?
that is one of our consistent violation areas, so it wouldn't be hard to speculate that it was that area.
Do they check mooring balls and marinas?
Do they check the mooring balls and marinas?
Right.
That would be a Sergeant Underwood question.
Okay.
I'm his lieutenant. I sit kind of like up here now. I've been promoted up, so I don't deal with the daily operations anymore. I do the overview of operations. So when he comes back next month, that would be a good question for him. I know that he does, as you guys know, so much. He's got his fingers in a lot of the pools and is trying to encompass as much as he can as a solo full-time employee. So I know we also check the marinas in San Sebastian when we're doing these sanitation checks. We don't just focus on Doug Crane or the ICW. I've been on some of those. I know that those get quite interesting really quick when we contact those folks. So, and of course we had the blessing of the fleet. So that was the big operation, non-standard duty that we dealt with over the last month. Any other questions for the unit? Nope. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Government representatives, anybody else?
Jim Pickett, the City of St. Augustine. Just very briefly, our dredging application to fine has been turned in on time. We expect to go down again to Cocoa Beach sometime in June. Haven't given a day yet to support, defend, whatever you want to say, our application. Blessing of Fleet went well. Quite a few people were there. It lasted about 90 minutes, to my understanding. I wasn't there. And they had to make a last-minute change due to weather changes for the direction of the boats, but everything went really smooth. And lastly, we're still waiting on CETO to pull those 3 derelict boats that are outside the city limits, but in the Port District and in the Fines District, which you all agreed to like 3 months ago. So once that happens, I'll come back to y'all.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Okay. Carl, I see you're hanging out.
Good afternoon, Carl Blow, the Florida Inland Navigation District, 100 Santa Monica Avenue, St. Augustine. Just before I forget, on Mr. Kramer's presentation, we've had a number of property appraisers from the counties within our district come to us to join into that arrangement. And it's my understanding there's really nothing you can lose. What's bad is if a particular taxing entity doesn't join in, then that county cannot move forward, and that is not a good situation to be in if you're the one entity that killed the deal for the whole county. So for what it's worth, from the presentations I've heard, there's really no downside. The upside is once they catch these folks, then that property goes, as Mr. Kramer says, and as Commissioner Rivers pointed out, it goes back on the tax rolls at its full value, so it actually helps your taxable value. But anyway, for what it's worth. I just wanted to touch base with you folks on a couple of things. As Mr. Pickett mentioned, the city did turn in their grant application on time. As well as the city, we received 4 grant applications from St. Johns County. One of them is Palmetto Boat Ramp down here, which is in your Port District. That's a Phase 1, a design engineering grant to improve that ramp down there. The other one is Riverdale Boat Ramp, which is not in your district. That's over on the St. Johns River. That's a property purchase to increase their parking. The next one is Volano. It's a significant grant application here. They want to really try to improve the parking area in Volano and improve the bathrooms and that sort of thing. So that's one of their larger grant applications. And then the other one, which is not in your district, is up in Palm Valley at the Palm Valley Bridge. They want to improve that ramp, that existing ramp on the east side of the bridge, on the east side of the waterway. So all in all, with the grant application from the city and then these from the county, the total dollar amount of grant applications received from St. Johns County, including the city, is $473,750. The potential allocation for the county is about $600, so we kind of left some money on the table, but this is going to be a tight budget year, and so I'm feeling pretty optimistic that these are all good applications, and hopefully we'll actually score high enough to get funded. So that's what's happening with the grants. The other thing I wanted to brief you on is I think I mentioned in the past that we have several maintenance projects coming up. There were 2 in St. Johns County that were the result of the hurricanes. One of them's been postponed, which was a dredging project up by the intersection of the St. Augustine Inlet and the ICW. The other one was down in Matanzas. We went forward with the one in Matanzas. FIND is funding that with $2.5 million, but we apparently have been successful at getting some of that federal money back. But let me just do, as you know, I can't function without giving you a handout, so I'm going to give you a handout right quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, this is the project down at the Matanzas Inlet area. What's happened here is the initial amount of material that the hurricanes put in the channel started out at less than 150,000 cubic yards. It then kind of went to 152,000 cubic yards. But if you notice in the highlighted area, the latest numbers coming back from the Corps is they're talking about potentially more than 300,000 cubic yards, which is really good news because all that's going to go on the beach down there. And so there's really 2, and actually I talked to Ms. Ginn about it here earlier. As you know, that we've had 2 breaches down in that area that actually filled the river in. And there's the northerly breach is the older breach, and the southerly breach is the newer breach. And we were primarily, I think most of our material was going to try to shore up the southerly area. And since looks like we're going to have more material, maybe we can, move north. But I think, we'll get together, in other words, FIND, the Corps, Taylor, and the county will get together and see if we need to make any adjustments. As you can see, this project is still in the planning stage, but with fundings in place, so the award would be this June, and actually they advertised it yesterday. So we'll need to move on that and see where we can maybe help out that area on the north. So anyway, that's good news. That's moving forward. And then the other thing I've got, and I'm a little embarrassed because I can't remember if I ever shared economic numbers with you. Did I? Did I give you these numbers?
Yeah, we got that one.
Okay. Did I give you the new numbers?
I don't know.
We'll take them if you have them.
Okay. I'm getting old, so I kind of forget what But if you've seen this before, let's just fake it. And
Yeah, I don't think we got these, Carl. I think these are the new ones, aren't they? Yeah.
I think it's, as y'all remember, FIND over the last, 20 years has hired independent economists to do economic impact studies on the impact of the intercoastal waterway in the 12 counties on the east coast of Florida. And the reason we do that really is when we go to D.C. to try to lobby for federal funding for the waterway, those guys want to see some numbers. And so we're just in the process of updating our economic impact, and we do it county by county, and we have a firm, Balmoro is doing it for us this time, and these are the numbers for St. Johns County. And anyway, just thought that y'all might be interested in this, but the total annual value of having the ICW in St. Johns County is like almost $850 million a year. And they came up with a direct impact of 8,211 jobs that are directly related to the ICW. And and then you can read across here the the economic output and all that stuff. But on the second page, obviously we have a little less than 12,000 registered vessels in St. Johns County. They talk about the tax benefits that are generated, but what I thought was real interesting is part of their charge is to do an outreach and a study, and what they do is they send out these questionnaires to registered voters in the county. And if you look down here with this little graph, they ask a number of questions, basically what the voter would like done with the ICW. How in other words, they ask the voter, how can the ICW be improved or the voting experience improved? And if you notice on here, 46% of the respondents said enhance boat ramps and launching areas. 38% said more parking at boat ramps. Then 33% responded with more boat ramps. 42% more recreational destinations like restaurants and that sort of thing, and then only 13% were content with the waterway as it is. And then the other area here at 23%, apparently there's a note down here that most of those folks cited they wanted more waterfront restaurants. But anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting that it sort of backs up that we have a critical need for public access to the water, primarily boat ramps, and of course parking's part of that. And I guess what's on the horizon is y'all probably aware the county is looking at charging for
People are so unhappy.
for park or boat ramps, and of course if that moves forward, the city's going to have to figure out what they do there at Lighthouse Park, because you can't have one free ramp and everybody else charging, because
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Blow?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, May Street boat landing, I brought a picture of that in here, I think on my very first or second meeting. Over here at May Street, you got Usina?
Right,
And it's
the
that little
Hospital
old pathetic.
Creek.
You didn't even know it was a boat ramp if poor old people weren't still trying to use it. I noticed it was still a boat ramp, excuse me, because I saw this nice truck down there and I'm thinking, what are you doing in the mud? And it is a boat ramp. May Street. Yes, it's right there on the east side of Hospital Creek.
Right.
It is in sad shape, but it is an official, literal public boat ramp, and I don't know if you've ever called. Yeah, it's a real boat ramp.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's just let go to death. And I brought in and told the board that we have an open permit from the Army Corps until July of this year that would allow you to go in for small boat ramps like that. You don't even have to notify them. A number of cubic yards of sand and concrete can be brought in. So my question is, why isn't somebody looking at that? Because I see people still, because as we know, you see a boat ramp, it's full. Lord help you if you sleep past 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday because you work late. You can't go to your river. So, and I'll ask this board too, can we not do something with that open permit between now and July while it's still there? Because I think $3,000 would fix that whole thing. It still has its cement ramp. We're primarily looking at dugout holes,
Yeah.
literally dugout holes.
I'm familiar where you're talking about. That's outside my area of expertise. I don't know if that's DOT right away there, but that's something I don't.
It's in the city limits.
Yeah, that, I think, and some of the folks that might have been around here longer than I have, I think the original bridge was kind of, when they built the current bridge, they replaced a wooden bridge, which I think was actually on the south side of the existing bridge. And so where you see those guys park, I think maybe that's.
Well, it has a concrete boat ramp going down into the
Went up and down
water.
like that?
As you're going across, as you're on Main Street and you're heading towards the Volano Bridge and you cross Hospital Creek, there's, a low-level bridge there. And on the south side, there's like a road down there, and people go down there and launch kayaks and stuff.
It's really not just a road, Mr. Carl. It has got a concrete ramp.
Does it?
Yes, sir, I went down at dead low tide to see what, and and it has some concrete edgings. This thing was a
Oh,
public boat
I mean,
ramp.
I've never looked at
As
it
far,
that close.
I've been in that area a long time, and you know what, to tell you the truth, Cop Jerry always told me, and I knew this to be true, it's usually where people steal motors and how they get away. They don't go to a big boat ramp.
Right,
They run up there, this little something that's been local for 100 years, and it's just been let go. And I think when they built the Usina, it made sense not to put much. But the thing about that ramp, and I'll say it to you guys again, that's where kayakers can go. Mr. Way said it's terrible because we'd need to put a light there. You don't need a light. It's a dawn to dusk. We need a few grand, and there's enough places there. I'm telling you, keep it non-motorized or under 10 horse. There's like 15 parking places there.
Well, I tell you what you could do, we've missed this grant cycle, but that might be one where the next grant cycle, you go in for what I call a phase one, which is a design permitting grant.
Well, here's the thing, this doesn't have to be done with grants.
Oh,
We've already got a permit, we just need the city, as far as, am I correct in this? If we wanted to put just a few thousand in to helping this spot out, the city would need to come and officially ask us to do that?
Actually, I was going to bring that point up too, because I pass by there all the time.
Yeah.
On Sunday, there were about 7 cars down there. But that's not an official boat ramp. People just use it as a kayak launch mostly.
Well, again, there is a boat there.
I'll tell you what, why don't we put that on the agenda for the next week, and let's look into it a little bit further, because I'm also interested in that area, because it is the perfect area, except it does flood at very high times.
Right. It does flood, right.
Well,
Which is why Mr. Hersey also always recommends the really heavy coquina sand, because it tends to perk. I use a lot of it where I'm at, and it tends to
it's
perk.
a great location.
Yeah.
Why don't we
Well,
put it on the agenda?
I'll bring a lot of
one thing
pictures
you
at
might
low
want
tide.
to check out is something in the back of my mind, the port, the Port District actually owns property, which is mostly marsh, in that area. And I'm trying to remember if the area you're talking about isn't necessarily DOT right-of-way, it may be part of what the port owns.
I know they own that
I
little
don't know.
island out there in the marsh. That was the
That might be
spoil
the
for
first thing you want to do is
check that.
look at who owns what, what DOT owns versus what the port owns, because
It shows on the property appraiser's map.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a right-of-way, and then the port does have property.
contiguous to that, and I'm wondering if that where those folks are parking might be on port property instead of DOT property.
I'll be able to find out.
And that would be, no, I guess where I'm going from is if it's your property, it will be a lot easier
Right.
to work with than if it's the DOT's property.
Well, imagine we still have to get the city involved. I mean, they would need to ask us to, would they not?
If it's our property.
Unless it's our property, that would make it
Property,
easy.
and
Okay.
I mean, the worst thing would be environmental permitting issues,
right.
so,
I think it's in the city of St. Augustine.
yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's in the city.
But May Street obviously is a DOT right-of-way, so maybe you might,
I'll check on that.
See,
I'll bring a
I
lot of
remember
pictures.
something about, they were looking for a place to do some mitigation, and they looked around in that, and, in other words, what they would have done is dug up that road and planted jurisdictional plants in order to get some mitigation credits, and for whatever reason, they didn't use that area. So that would
Well,
be
you know
the
what
first thing, is to figure out exactly what you guys own in the
Yeah.
area, because you might actually own that where those folks are parking.
Look into that if you want to.
Okay,
Thanks a
I'll bring
lot.
pictures.
Yeah.
Any questions, or, am I
No,
good?
Carl.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else for the government? Nope. Okay. All right, we're at the point, public comment. Anybody from the public? Linda?
Linda again, Friends of the Summerhaven River, 9051 G. Johnson Road. Okay, so I guess we won't be seeing you too much longer. However, I did want to request that we be put on the agenda for next month to kind of do an exit review, just if we have any questions or loose ends, or if our group has anything that they want to say or bring up. So that's all I'm asking.
Great. You're on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Old business? Okay. Anybody else from the public? Nope. Comments by commissioners? Commissioner Rivers?
Just want to make sure that we put on the agenda the east end of the hospital bridge.
Well, how do you want to? Just want to,
That's the ramp that,
Yeah.
right, but just is going under.
yeah, finding out whether or not that is property that's owned by the port, or if it's just City of St. Augustine property.
Proposed boat ramp, you call it that, it's easy.
Proposed boat ramp by
Yeah.
the east end of the,
Yeah, and-
Hospital Creek Bridge.
And Commissioner Flowers will be the sponsor of that.
I'll get a lot of low tide pictures of everything out there.
Okay. Nothing
That's
from
it.
me. Anything else? Matt?
I just want to quickly ask, when we heard from the city about the possibility of the Corps of Engineers study, one thing that was left on the table was whether or not we would even have the legal authority under our charter to participate in that financially, but then also in an advisory capacity going forward, I think, once that project materializes. So it's something I think we wanted to ask Jim about.
I think it's pretty clearly within the charter of the district.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
All right. Anything else?
That's all for me.
Flowers? Nope. Okay. Then our next meeting is,
May 21st. No, yeah, May 21st, that's the third Tuesday.
okay. Okay, we're adjourned. Okay.